Again, and welcome to Interfaith Spiritual Center Worldwide, where we believe there is a power for good in the universe, that we are using it, that we are not here by chance, we are here by divine appointment. And for anyone who tuned in at this moment, this message is for you. And as we join in community and we feel that energy and recognize that each of us, we are on a spiral of life. We are either ascending on that spiral, because life does not go in a straight line. Life is a spiral. Jesus said, if I be lifted up, I draw all men unto me. And what he was saying is, I draw all good unto me. I draw all the energy unto me if I be lifted up. And when we are lifted up, there is a view here. There's an absolute view that we can see, because we have risen above the energy of just being here so earthbound and looking, in a very linear way. If I be lifted up from the things of this world, if I be lifted up and see through what is going on energetically, I draw all good unto me. Be ye upward bound, that we are on the upward spiral. And if we are not on the upward spiral, we are on the downward spiral toward entropy. And so today, as we gather together in our way of life, and this is what I love about our way of life, is that we have a choice here. Choose ye this day whom you will serve. God, life, truth, beauty, wisdom, or ego, something less than that. And when we make choices that don't serve us, we can make a new choice. Here's the paints. Here's the brushes. You paint paradise, and in you go. We paint it the way we want to show up in our lives. And one of the things about being in India this last couple of weeks is that you feel the spirituality that allows us to know, yes, there is the contrast, the color, the energy, and a human condition. And when I visited the temples, and you could feel this energy, people from all walks of life, all socioeconomic walks of life and situations and levels. And there was a common bond. There was an energy. When we went into the temples and we received the blessing of the priest, and he put it's like a flower power. I call it flower power, but it was like that powder. And they would put it on the third eye. This is known as the third eye, or the brow center. And it's to open the eye. And sometimes we would go and they would put ash on the third eye. And it was interesting, because I had a darling little friend, her name was Sushimitha. I called her Sushi. And she said the reason that they put the holy ash on the third eye is that we're all going to return to the earth. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. And she quoted that. And I said, it is so true. And it reminded me of that story where the little boy was so afraid to clean his room. And his mother said, don't be afraid to clean your room. And he said, well, I don't want to look under the bed. And she said, don't be afraid to look under the bed. And she said, it's just dust. We all, return to ashes, dust to dust. Now you go in there and clean your room. And so he came out and he was all scared again. And he goes, Mom, there's something under the bed, and I don't know whether they're coming or going. Oh my God. So energetically, we're coming into a new realm, that be ye upward bound, and that we return to the earth as well. I love the analogy of the rose, and that's one of my sacred symbols. That the rose, begins with the seed and the energy of the leaves and the blossoms that fall back to the earth and return to the earth, as each and every one of us will do one day, and take ourselves with us. That's the only thing we're going to do, is take our consciousness with us. Not that Armani suit or those wonderful Prada shoes or whatever it is. We're only going to take our consciousness with us. And that when we get that, then we're going to be in the world and live our lives to the fullest. And what I love about our way of life is that truth realized is instantly demonstrated. So if we've had fear about things, truth realized, to see through to the other side of it, Because what is our fear? It's false evidence appearing real, that old analogy, but it's the truth. And when we open to the light that penetrates that energy and allows us to come out on the other side, that we never know what kindness is going to have a ripple effect. I love the story about the young man who was in the South, and he was a traveling salesman, and he just, went from door to door to door, and no one was buying anything that he was selling, and he was just hungry, he had no money, and he was thirsty, and he thought, I'm just going to knock on the door, and I'm just going to ask, if somebody would give me a glass of water at least. So he went and knocked on the door, and a lovely young woman came to the door, a young girl, and he said, first, he was going to ask for something more, but he was just so taken aback by her beauty that he just asked for the water. And she said, oh, come in, I'll be right back. And she came back, and she had a huge glass of milk. And she said, this is for you. And he just drank that, and it was just wonderful. She said, would you like another? And he did. So there he was. And so he sat for a moment, and he got his energy, and from then on, sales began, he began to make sales out of that one moment of kindness. Now, Mother Teresa said that peace begins with a smile, right? Peace is universal. It begins with a smile. Years later, it was so interesting because this young woman had a heart condition and she needed to go into the hospital. And she didn't have insurance and the proper insurance. And the doctor performed the surgery anyway. He looked and he saw her name and performed the surgery anyway. And afterwards she was kind of feeling, some trepidation. And in feeling that trepidation about the bill, it was really interesting because as she looked at the bill, it said no charge, paid with 1 glass of milk, signed Dr. Arnold Turner. So the young man that she had given that glass of milk to, went on to school, his medical degree, specializing in heart situations and surgery, and paid with 1 glass of milk. I saw it as the milk of human kindness, that we never know the ripple effect of one singular sentiment that comes forth in action. Emerson said it best. He said, all the lovely sentiments in the world weigh less than 1 lovely action. And out of that 1 lovely action, something occurs where that ripples out in waves that we could never, ever perceive. And what I felt about my trip in India and Dr. Natarajan is that every kind thing I've ever done culminated in this trip. He retained a driver for me that took me all over India to all the sacred places where he had his homes, and the amazing, it was called Kanyakumari, 7,000 feet above sea level, with this amazing energy, and you could feel that spiritual, of ancient energy when you put your foot on the ground. And as I looked up, we went into the town, it had a big picture of the Dalai Lama and Gandhi. And it said, thank you, India, for giving our Dalai Lama amnesty during his time of being cast out of Tibet. And there was a huge, like billboard sign with Dalai Lama and Gandhi. And a quote from Gandhi, of course, be the change you want to see in the world. And I spoke with a Tibetan woman who had a little shop. And I said, I am just so moved by your sign with the thanking India for this 50th anniversary of being in India when they crossed that border and he was just a teenager. And they said, are you the Lord Dalai Lama? And he said, I am just a man seeking a spiritual life. So humble. And in that energy where we acknowledge that one act of kindness that allows us to keep going up the spiral, being upward bound, as we acknowledge that Buddhist way is non-attachment, not to be so attached to the things of this world that we do not have our spiritual experience. Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist of note, said that the one thing that stands between spiritual experience is religion. Because people are so interested in the form of their little religion, they forget the essence of why they are there. The milk of human kindness. One man, said he was in a congregation and the preacher was up there and he was preaching and this kind of hippie kind of guy with several colors of hair came in and there was no place to sit. So he went all the way to the front row. He sat down on the floor and everybody's thinking, oh my God, call the elders. Whatever that means. And this wonderful old man who was an elder and on a cane kind of hobbled down to the first row and sat down on the floor next to this young man who was a soul and very colorful and broke through that energy of rigidity of let's play religion, let's play churchianity rather than spirituality. And when we meet, in rented facilities, it really is about spirituality. It's not about churchianity. Would we like to have our own facility? Of course. However, we do what works. And Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, did not really believe in facilities. He believed in renting. He was an environmentalist in the 1920s. And he rented theaters and he rented all kinds of places. And his brother, Fenwick, who wrote the foreword to my book of poetry, said that he didn't really believe in facilities. He believed in using what was there, the resources that were there. And so we're doing that. We're doing it right here in Palm Springs, California at the Leisure Center. And we have no creed but love. Love one another as I have loved you. We have no doctrine but the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And as we gather on the spiral and we're tempted, and sometimes we go down the spiral, or we're in a disorientation and we feel like, I'm just like in this thing before we make the next revolution up. And when we make the next revolution up, we look down. It's kind of like when I was 20 years old, I dropped out of college and I wanted to see the world and joined the airlines, right? And went from airline to airline. Many of you know the story. My mother was driving, her little Impala and dropping me off at each airline, and I was running in. They go, oh, you're just, I was 20 years old. You're so pretty, and you're so this and that. We'll send a letter, and I just airline after airline hearing this. And finally, I would just say the same thing. And I'm sure they all heard the same thing. Why do you want to be an airline stewardess? I love people. And why else? I love to travel. Where have you been? Nowhere. But I know I love to travel, right? And so finally we got to United, which was the very last one. And we got to, we made the rounds. And I sat there, and the gentleman said, and why do you want to be an airline stewardess? And I said, I love people. And he said, I could see him go south. He went clear to Argentina. And I said, and he goes, oh, why else? And I said, I love to travel. Where have you been? Nowhere. He goes, thank you, you're so pretty, and we send out these letters, and you'll get it in 2 or 3 weeks if we decide that you're going to work for us. And as I was walking out, I said, you know what? There is one more thing. And he said, what is that? And I just sat down. He sat down. And I said, to bag me a man. He said, you are the first honest woman I have ever met. Sign her up right now, weigh her in. She's hired. So I learned very early on the truth was the greatest shortcut. And when you tell the truth, the universe responds. And when we do our little dance around the truth, people go south. The thing we want out here, the carrot that's out there, it's always just beyond our grasp. It's like the elusive butterfly. The more we chase after it, the more it eludes us. But if we sit down quietly, it alights on our shoulder. And the truth is the best shortcut. Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And out of that freedom, we go to the next level. It's about the spiral of life. It's about the energy that allows us to look at our life, and if there are things there that need work, it's not about beating ourselves up and flagellating ourselves. It's about what works and what doesn't work. And if something works, we'll do more of that. If it doesn't work, we do something different. We don't beat ourselves up with that whole New Age guilt trip. We just sit down quietly and give the same compassion to ourselves as we would extend to someone else. And I love that biblical quote about that you can have, you can have faith and you can have hope. But unless you demonstrate love, you are a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. It goes nowhere. It's emptiness. We can have it all and it looks like we have it all, but unless we experience love, we are a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. And so we open to love. We open to the energy that allows us to feel that connection one with the other. And even those that we don't vibrate to, that it's not a vibrational match, there's still that God particle within them. And so that's what we relate to. We don't always relate to the stuff out here. And when I came through customs in my own country, I want you to know, I went to Qatar. I had 3 amazing, intensive inspections of my things through Qatar. And got to my own country. There's this darling little beagle. You'll just appreciate it. He's just smelling over my backpack, and I had some goodies in it. And I petted the beagle, and so I opened up my little pouch, and I got some Indian goodies in it. And I said, I know he wants my cheese. I just know that he does. And I'm petting him. He says, well, you're going to have to go through x-ray. So I don't take the backpack. They want me to take all my luggage and put it, lift it and put it in a thing. I don't lift the luggage anyway. So I need someone. He goes, get somebody in a red shirt. And I said, red shirt, red shirt. Nobody came, red shirt. And I said, nobody's coming. And then I saw someone in line. I said, would you please put my luggage up? I said, this is absolutely ridiculous. I have been all over the world. I have had intensive investigations about my luggage and going through things. And in my own country, where I'm off speaking on universal brotherhood, and let me tell you, you are absolutely pushing the envelope here, and I mean to the max for me to draw the larger circle and include you. And he goes, welcome home. Look, I've been up for 48 hours and I'm usually nicer than this. Now, okay. So I walk out and meet my party, and the customs guy's running after me. Says, oh, here's your passport. I forgot to give it to you. And I said, well, thank you very much for my passport. And I said, welcome us home when we have been on long journeys. And I said, and had intensive security checks. Welcome us home, because we are so happy to be home, to live in our country, to experience the things that we experience, because where are we going? We are going higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you.